Welcome to Primary Complete, episode 017. In this episode, Steve, Matt, and Jeremy sit down with Dr. Gabe Frank of the Frank Institute. Dr. Frank shares with us how his path from neurosurgery led him to being an industry leader in his current field of endocrinology. Dr. Frank has devoted his life to helping military, first responders, and everyday citizens optimize their hormones to give the successful, fulfilling life they deserve. We discuss many things, such as how the increase in stress, lack of sleep, and poor lifestyle choices contribute to low levels of testosterone, and how the effects of low testosterone can interfere with mood, weight loss, and libido. Matt opens up and tells his own struggles with unregulated hormones and the symptoms he encountered with that. If you listen to this episode and would like to contact Dr. Frank, you can visit his website at frankinstitute.com or call and schedule an appointment at 910-679-8534. As always, thank you for your support, like and subscribe. Tell your friends and your family to tune in, help us spread our message of education and empowerment. Welcome to the show, Dr. Frank. So, Dr. Gabriel Frank, you don't need any introduction with me, but our listeners don't know anything about you. So, why Wilmington?
So, when my wife and I finished our training, we kind of had, because of the rarity of her specialty, she could literally go anywhere. So she's from Asheville, and I said, "Where do you want to live?" And she said, "I want to live in Wilmington." I didn't know anything about Wilmington, and I said, "Fine." So we took a trip down here and fell in love with it. And this November will be 10 years.
10 years, cool.
9 years. Sorry, 9 years.
So you were talking about your wife's profession. What does she do?
She's a radiologist.
Okay. So what company does she work for?
She works for Delaney.
Delaney.
Here in town.
That's who did my MRI when I had my knee surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Was Delaney. So good crowd over there.
Yeah, they do a good job. They're busy.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, because they're the only game in town. They read everything.
Yeah.
So it's when she's working, they're long days.
Well, that's not a bad problem either.
No, it's not. It's not. And she loves it though. She's really good at it.
That's good. That's good. So what when she said I want to live in Wilmington, what were you doing at the time?
So I had just finished my fellowship in neurorehabilitation. It was at that point that I started learning the regenerative medicine and the hormone therapy, kind of the stuff I do now. And then I moved here and worked for a different clinic, ended up not working out, and then opened Frank Institute about 6 years ago. Cool.
What made you pivot from the neuro field to kind of what you're in now? Because you went to school for neurology, right? Isn't that kind of what you...
So I started as a neurosurgeon. That's how I started my residency.
Okay.
And that's a miserable existence. It's just, it wasn't for me. You know, you have to be able to shut it off. And I couldn't do it. And so I realized that, and I was like, hey, man, it's not for me. It's nothing wrong with that. So I left and did the neurorehabilitation because I liked that aspect. I liked the regenerative part of it. And all the badness I saw in neurosurgery, I got to see the good part of it in the rehabilitation part. You know, healing, people learning to walk again, learning to talk again, being able to fix people. And that's what really piqued my interest. And then we did some hormone stuff during the fellowship. So I already had an interest in it. And then obviously being an athlete and understanding optimization, peak performance. So I started to look, after I was leaving the other practice, I started looking around and be like, what do I really want to do? Why did I really go into medicine? It's to make people feel better. My oldest brother is on TRT and has been for 15 years. And he said, hey, this was something you enjoyed in your fellowship. Why don't you look into doing it? So I went back and retrained through the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine and kind of jumped into it, and here I am.
That's fantastic. You mentioned you were an athlete. You're a big fella.
I am.
That's good.
I am. I played professional basketball.
So
I played for the for basically with the minor league team for the Chicago Bulls. I played in the CBA, which is now the D League or the G League, I think now. And then I played overseas for a little bit.
Cool. What was your experience like overseas?
It was cool. I played in Israel.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that was awful.
Yeah.
No, it's terrible.
Well, it's cool to be able to travel and see that.
It was awesome. And then I played on some national teams. We played in Santiago, Chile. Played in Mexico City. So I've been lucky enough to play kind of going all over playing basketball, and it's been good. And now my 4-year-old son, all he wants to do is play basketball.
That's good.
So it's been It's been neat because I put it away for so long. Like I got really out of shape during residency and during training, and just kind of got burned out from playing basketball. And now he's 4, and all he wants to do is play. So now I'm getting kind of back into it and going out in the driveway and playing with him, and it's reawakened my love for the game.
That's
so
awesome.
It's been good. It's been something kind of therapeutic, actually.
Yeah, well, good for you. All right, so Frank Institute.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about that. That's the
Okay.
number one reason we got you on today.
Right.
Is I wanted to talk to let all of our listeners know about you and the work you do at the Frank Institute. And that's a local place here in Wilmington. So what is your specialty at the Frank Institute? What is the Frank Institute?
So the Frank Institute is a clinic that specializes in restorative and regenerative medicine. And so when I say that to people, they're like, what does that mean? So it's restoring your body to optimal functioning and regenerating what you've lost. So now that can be guys like you guys, like your listeners, first responders, firemen, police officers, who under the stress of what they've been through, their endocrine system, or basically the pathway that produces testosterone, just gets shut down. And you can run, but you don't run optimally. So patients come to me and they're exhausted, they can't sleep, they're moody, they are they're falling asleep at 2:00 in the afternoon, or they're waking up not even feeling rested. They can't remember anything. I see a lot of military, and they'll go to the VA with those symptoms. And so that we put on a medication for anxiety, for depression, for sleep, for focus. And I'm like, you just got put on 4 medications you don't need. What you need is to have someone break all this down and figure out what the root cause is. And then you regenerate the body from there. And the great majority of what I do is hormone therapy, but that's not all I do. Because you have to take a all-encompassing look at the human body. So, if I was treating you and I only looked at what your labs are, and your testosterone was 350, and you went to your primary care doctor, and the primary care doctor's like, well, you're within normal limits, or you're low normal, which makes me want to vomit, because there's no such thing as low normal. You're either low or you're normal. And just looking at the number, you get a false sense of where you are, because at 350 you can be symptomatic as hell. And I can have someone else come in at 350 and they'll be like, I feel great. So you have to look at the entirety of them. And, we run obviously very in-depth lab panels. We look at not only hormone levels, but we look at vitamin levels. So we have a comprehensive IV program in which we were able to replenish the body. We have an acoustic wave machine where we're able to heal injuries. The thing is amazing. So it's not just, here's your testosterone and we'll see you later. It's close follow-up. It's constantly tweaking. It's making sure that we get you to where you need to be so you can be the best version of yourself. And I tell my patients, I've told other people, I'm on testosterone. It is completely 180 my entire life.
Oh yeah, I can attest to that for sure. I'm one of your patients.
Yes, I didn't want to say that.
No. I'm definitely
was waiting for you to say it.
No,
Me too.
I'm one of your patients. Jeremy's one of your patients, and that's a reason. What do you think the cause is, and how would you tell somebody who comes to you to those symptoms? Why does our profession, along with the military, of course, but why does our profession just kind of facilitate this environment for our endocrine system to be just crap?
Because you do everything that you can to assault it. And what I mean is, you guys don't have regular schedules. It's not a 9 to 5. You don't go to sleep every night at the same time. And it's not like you sleep through the night. And so you guys are constantly under this. And I remember when I was on call as a neurosurgeon, I used to never be able to sleep because you're just waiting for the pager to go off. And so you get terrible sleep. So it's the same thing with you guys. So you guys don't get good sleep. And it's all or nothing. You get a call, you get that huge rush, and then you fall off. You get that huge rush and you fall off. So now you have these incredible fluctuations in stress. You have poor sleep. Diet's probably not the best. And you start to basically continuously chip away at your levels. And then at some point, your body can't recover anymore. And so now you start functioning at a lower and lower level. And your body just can't get back to where it should because you're constantly doing the things that are insulting it. So that's why I see so many firemen, so much law enforcement, so many military. It's really an epidemic, and it's not being addressed, and it's terrifying because of anyone in society that needs to be sharp. It's your listeners,
Right, for sure.
So you can't, because God forbid you're not sharp, you make a decision that wasn't correct, your body can't respond the way that it needs to with kind of the energy that it needs to. People get hurt. Not only you, but you guys are trying to save people. You're running towards trouble when everybody else is running away. And if you can't make the decisions you need to make, that's a big thing, is the mental clarity. People don't realize that mental clarity is very much dependent upon proper testosterone levels. So, you guys have half a second to make a decision?
If that sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
Sure.
And these are literal life and death decisions.
Yeah.
So it's every time you turn around, you're doing something that is knocking your levels down.
Sure. The approach that you take that stuck out for me specifically is when I came to you with my symptoms, the first questions you asked me were about my lifestyle. Mm-hmm. They weren't like, okay, let's get some blood work and I'll see you back in a couple of days and we'll go from there. That wasn't even a discussion when we started. It was, well, tell me about you. Mm-hmm. Tell me, what's your habits? What do you do? What's your diet look like? Do you work out? Do you lift weights? Do you do that kind of stuff? Your approach to treating the cause and starting at the root of how my lifestyle affected my endocrine system stuck out to me more than what I would say the VA does for, they mm-hmm. hear these signs and symptoms from these military guys and they want to throw medication at it. What's your thought process when it comes to treating lifestyle first versus automatically just prescribing something to fix it?
That's the real key that I think is missed by most doctors, is that if you don't understand how the patient got there, then you're doing the patient a huge disservice in how you treat them. Because if I don't understand what you're eating, how you're sleeping, what your stress levels are, I can't comprehensively treat you as a human being, which is what I'm doing. So if I don't know, hey man, you're eating McDonald's 3 times a week and you're not sleeping, well, that's going to affect the way that the testosterone works in your body. Now I have to worry, is this going to get converted into estrogen at an increased level? How is this going to affect the functionality of the medicine? Are you going to burn through it faster? So it's not cookie cutter. And there's a lot of doctors who just stamp guys with the same protocol over and over and over again. And you get guys that are horribly mismanaged. I took a very different approach. And this is how I've done it since day one at the Frank Institute. I didn't add this down, at some point in my career because I thought it'd be cool to do. This is all I do, is fixing people, for lack of a better way to say it. And I get some train wrecks that walk through my door.
Sure.
And that's okay, because other doctors will either punt them to another doctor. I would say I'm usually on average the 3rd or 4th doctor that people see. And it's usually, hey, there's nothing wrong with you.
Well, when it comes to the world of testosterone, and if a first responder if they even hear that, automatically they want to go to their primary care doctor and get those levels checked. And then their levels come back and they're sitting at 300 or whatever it may be, when, the medical community at large, when it comes to general practitioners, is 270 to 1100 mm-hmm. is what our normal range is considered. Well, I'm not a giant math guy, but there's a lot of numbers in between, right? Yeah. There's a lot of numbers in between. And, if Steve is at 300 and he's functioning and feeling great, but I'm at 400 and I feel like crap, then who's to say that who's normal? Is Steve normal or am I abnormal mm-hmm. or vice versa? He's operating at a lower level and I'm operating at a higher level, but yet I feel awful and he feels great. So I guess your approach to it is finding how somebody can feel great. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter necessarily what that number may be. You don't treat numbers, you treat the person.
Yeah, and that's I tell people the thing that I love most about my job is the hardest thing about my job. The thing I love most about my job is every person that walks in my office, I get to start over. I get to go through the whole process, and I love the process. I love working through it and trying to help people and changing and adjusting, and I love that process. But that's also the hardest thing, is because nobody's the same. Again, I circle back to this idea of this low normal, which I would say probably 80% of the guys come into my office and they're like, I saw my primary care last year. He said I was low normal. You can't. Again, if you're good at 300, then you're normal. That's your normal. Mm-hmm. If you're low at 500, you're low. There's no such thing as low normal. That's like, saying it's irregardless. It's just not a word. It can't be used, but because doctors either don't understand it, don't want to deal with it, are still worried about this stigma of testosterone. Barry Bonds and Balco did more to screw with what I do on a daily basis than anything, because everyone's like, oh, you're on testosterone? What are you juicing? No, this is a physician supervised replacement to get your levels to optimal. There's a big difference between 800, 900 and 5,000.
Right.
5,000 is where, these guys are tearing stuff out of the walls. 900, you go home, you feel great. Like, you're mentally clear. Your mood is good. You can function at work. Your relationship with your significant other is, everything works the way that it should.
Right.
And I'm kind of being somewhat subdued about that. I don't know why. And you feel like you should. That's how guys are like, well, what am I going to feel like? Well, how'd you feel 10 years ago? I felt awesome.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Let's try to get you awesome.
Yeah. Am I going to be able to bench 450? Oh, did you bench 450 when you were 25?
Yeah.
Well, no. I said, no. Are you going to have enough energy to go home and play with your children and have a happiness and a fulfillment in your life? Yeah. Oh, okay. That's how I should feel. Yeah. Well, how long is it going to take? 3-4 weeks. Wait, what? Yeah. I used to tell people neurosurgery wasn't hard. I could bring you guys into an operating room and you'll see. Doing a craniotomy, taking somebody's skull off, putting in pedicle screws is not difficult. What's hard is knowing where to cut. That's the hard part. That's where the knowledge and the experience and the training come in. What I do, and when I say it's not difficult, it's extremely difficult, but I know where to cut. I know what questions to ask, I know what labs to draw, and I know how to get to the root cause very quickly. So, you don't come back, you don't come back to my office 4 or 5 times before we initiate treatment.
Right.
No. I got your labs. We're sitting down for my initial appointment with you, and we're coming up with a plan on the spot. And guys are like, oh, okay. Do I need to come back? In 3 months. We'll repeat your labs at that point. If you have problems, call me. But otherwise, this is what you can expect. And guys come back in 3 months and they're like, holy Lord, like this is, my life has taken a 180.
It sounds remarkably more simple than I would have guessed. I haven't been to see you, but if I had heard this conversation going on in a restaurant or something, bro, I'd be leaning that ear over. Like, oh, what? Yeah, because I do those things, like the 2 o'clock in the afternoon, crashing down, and you were rattling off like the things people complain about, and I'm like, yep. Yeah, and it's remarkable that most of the people just in my position in the fire department, just on the performance wellness team, and the questions that I field when it comes to just kind of mood and how that stuff works, it all lines up perfectly to the exact same way that I felt. My biggest thing when I researched and tried to seek out further help and knowing something was off with me, something that I couldn't control, which was hard for me to accept. It's not something that I can control, is when one of my kids would do something so simple. They're kids. One's 7, one's fixing to be 3. So when they would do something simple like accidentally bump a glass of water or whatever and spill it on the counter, I'd lose my mind. And I was like, and then after the fact it was over, I was like, why did I lose my mind? That doesn't make sense. They're kids. That kind of thing is going to happen. I was just easily agitated. My wife would say something, And I would take it completely out of context and go to left field with it and wonder why she was thinking that. So mine was my mood more than anything. It was just incredibly inconsistent. I would snap at the blink of a hat. I mean, and it wasn't with people at work. It wasn't with anything. It was just with my personal life. And I was like, why are these people? So I equated it to work. And I was like, well, something must be off at work. Couldn't find anything abnormal at work. I worked with fantastic people. It wasn't higher stress levels at work. It was just, I didn't know what was going on. So I tried to go about it myself, injecting as much positivity into my life as I could, and nothing seemed to work. So I was like, something's off. So I went to see Dr. Frank, and sure enough, my T levels were in the tanks, and he was like, well, no wonder. I mean, no wonder you get pissed off all the time. No wonder you can't seem to focus, or you can't, you can't sit down and read a book for more than 10 minutes. No wonder. I mean, your body's not operating where it's supposed to be. So, and like I said, he took the approach with focusing on lifestyle first, and then we got into the replacement side of things, and that got me back to where I'm supposed to be.
And there's a very common misconception. I think this is the most common question I get from wives, actually, is if you're irritable. And irritability was one of my biggest ones. And I'm kind of a fiery guy anyways. Like, I'm the youngest of 4 brothers. I got a mother from the Bronx. I got a father from the west side of Chicago. Like, it's just kind of my personality. And so, you're like, I got mine are 9, 6, and 4, my kids. So yeah, I would get agitated and I'd be like, why am I like this? And I ran my levels and they were 224 when they should be like 900. And one of my wife's concerns was, I don't want you to, this is what she said. She's like, I want you to be a bigger asshole.
Yeah, we're already here.
Yeah. and that hands down by far the most common question I get from wives is, he's already really irritated. He's already just on edge all the time because everyone thinks that you're going to roid rage. I got a lot of guys that I treat, and I can say this with 100% certainty, 0 of them get more agitated. And you guys in this room who I treat, are you guys more agitated or less?
Oh, less.
Oh, far less.
Far less.
I can handle things a lot better. Like, I used to do the same stuff Matt did, I'd flip out over the small stuff the kids do, but like now, I seem to like, I don't know. Yeah,
It's a total difference.
Guys don't get agitated. If things are balanced appropriately, agitation doesn't occur. Now, there's only so many things I can fix. And if you're a putz at baseline and you're agitated and you're kind of a jerk, I mean, then that's part of your personality. But if your agitation and your changes in your personality are due to low testosterone, which the great majority of my guys are, then it gets better when you're balanced. Again, I almost spend more time undoing what society thinks they know about testosterone therapy than actually treating people. And it's frustrating. It's very, very frustrating. But that's why I do stuff like this is, this is a great medium for me to say all of this stuff where we can reach a lot of people that really need the treatment that don't even know they need it.
Right.
And that for me, that's the biggest thing why I'm so incredibly appreciative that you guys had me on, so that I can say, hey, look, whether you come to me, whether you go to somebody else, go get help. Like I tell guys, whether or not you become a patient of mine or whether you go to your primary care doctor, and if your primary care doctor knows what he or she is doing, great, let them do it. But do something. You don't have to live like this anymore.
Yeah, we talked back when I first started my journey with you, myself and Liz. We talked a lot about just the very specific area of fire service personnel and the things that seem to be hazards in our service. Our cancer stuff is on the rise. That seems to be the big initiative is cancer this, cancer that, where, used to be it was black out your mask so you become more comfortable in dark. Guys were dying a lot more in the fires, like in fires and stuff like that. And it's kind of shifted over the years just to the nature of construction and just, so cancer is big on our thing right now. Is there any correlation with, I've read some studies and I'm sure you can back this up, but there's a lot of correlation with low testosterone levels and susceptibility to cancer, heart disease. It makes you more susceptible when your testosterone is lower. and I've read this in several different studies, and I'll be glad to put those in the show notes. But can you back that up?
Yeah, again, another very common misconception is that testosterone therapy causes prostate cancer, causes heart disease, causes stroke. No, that was based on a study that was done very poorly about 35 years ago. In the last 20 years, there's been, and you just referenced, there's dozens and dozens and dozens of studies that show that that's not true. Testosterone therapy is not directly correlated to development of those diseases. What we have found is that low testosterone is, which, and I fight with doctors here in town that are like, no, I don't know why you're going on testosterone. You're gonna become a meathead and you're gonna get prostate cancer. No, that's just not the answer. I have someone I went to medical school with. There, she is a urologist at Indiana University, and her clinic is full of guys with prostate cancer, and they're all on testosterone. Guess how many get worse? None. Because it's managed the appropriate way. So, again, I'm fighting this constant stream of misinformation and these propagation of these facts, quote unquote, that just aren't true. And most doctors don't stay up because testosterone therapy has this taboo-ness to it, and doctors are like, oh, I'm not going to deal with it. Well, you need to educate yourself. This is becoming something that's much more prominent. So you need to educate yourself, and you need to know that this is not how we think anymore. This is not what the data and the research shows. I'm not just winging this. This is what I do. I'm mild to moderately obsess over it because guys are putting their lives in my hands. That's something that's, these guys are fathers, they're husbands. The female population in my practice has rose dramatically. So, these are people who have responsibilities at home. And if I am not committed in terms of my knowledge base, because people are coming to me, like you kind of hit on it earlier, the machismo of firemen, of law enforcement, I don't need it. These guys are literally bearing their souls to me, and they don't know me from anybody. So it's a huge disservice to them for me not to know what I'm doing, for me not to know what the latest research is, for me not to know what the protocols are, for me not to understand there are potential side effects. Well, I need to explain that to them. Here, this is what I have seen, and I have a lot of guys that I treat. This is a percentage of guys that develop increases in their hemoglobin and hematocrit. These are the guys who I see have increased estrogen production. These are the guys that can potentially have blood clots. Can you get prostatitis? Can you get irritation of the prostate while on testosterone therapy? Absolutely. Something you need to watch for. That's why I do lab testing frequently. So as long as you're understanding how you're doing things, it's a safe treatment. Not without risk, but there's way less risk than running into a burning building. with a testosterone level of 300 when now you're carrying 80 pounds of gear
at minimum,
and now you're trying to go up the steps and you get halfway up and you're winded because you don't have the strength that you used to. Pretty sure that's a lot more dangerous than potential issues. And again, I'm not minimizing the risks of testosterone therapy, but it's a risk benefit ratio. And again, I follow my patients closely. I meet with them quarterly. I do testing every 6 months. In depth, same panel every single time. I don't half-ass it. I don't only do bits and pieces. No, we're going to do this. We're going to do this the right way, and this is what it's going to be. You're on board? Fantastic. And I have people be like, well, can we do this and can I change it? No, because my success rate is so high because I do things the same way. I don't, you're going to come see me. This is how we're doing it. And I have a 97% success rate, improvement rate.
That's perfect.
So, I'm like, you come to me, great. You don't want to? I'm sure there's someone else here in town that's going to half-ass it.
Yeah. We're talking about the first responder community. Countless studies have been proven to show that increased cortisol levels, as well as probably the number one cause of lower testosterone in men, is lack of sleep. Mm-hmm. We don't get, it's questionable, especially somebody like in my shoes who it's questionable whether or not I'm going to get a good night's sleep at home. And then you get to the firehouse and it's just like you spoke about when you were neurologist practicing neurosurgeon. Excuse me.
Not a neurologist.
When you were a neurosurgeon, that even when we're at the firehouse, there's just a certain level that we don't get to fall asleep correctly. You're always constantly battling, or sitting in this sense of awareness. So it's a good look. It's a good look too, is getting your levels checked and so on.
And it's a blood test.
Yeah,
it's simple. You come into my office, you're in and out of there in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't we've worked very hard at the Frank Institute to make the treatments that we do as least disruptive to your life as possible, because you're coming to me to make your life easier, not harder.
Right.
So, there are guys that call me from the firehouse, I've had guys call me from their squad cars. Hey man, I'm working today. I know I need to do my appointment, but cool. I mean, I have guys where I can hear like calls coming in while they're on the phone, and they're calling. I'm like, are you in your squad car? Yeah. Cool. Well, I need, a half hour of your time to talk about what we're doing. Call me. It's no big deal. I can see people almost anywhere. So, it's my job to make your life better. And if it becomes a hassle to see me, I'm not doing my job.
I love it. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys.
Have you heard any of the correlation with zinc and vitamin D as far as it goes with the correlation with low testosterone?
Yes.
I think COVID has kind of brought this a little bit to light. In our health community. The decreased levels in vitamin D and zinc have been kind of correlated with the people who have the worst problems with COVID. And now it's kind of showing up in testosterone and all that kind of stuff and all of the endocrine system. So have you seen any studies on that, and what's your thoughts on it?
Zinc, for guys that don't want to go on testosterone, I tell them, if you want to supplement zinc, 50 milligrams, 50, is where you need to be. And vitamin D, you need to have your levels between 50 and 70. So usually for most guys, it's 5 to 10,000 units a day. Guys are taking supplements and they're 2,000 IUs. It's like shooting a BB gun or a freight train. It's not going to do anything. So you need to take the appropriate amount. One of the things that COVID has done, like you said, has thrown into sharp relief this idea that vitamin D is not really a vitamin, and it's more of a hormone in kind of the way that it functions within the body.
I've heard that.
So we've actually, again, trying to always improve, be comprehensive, we've actually started adding a lot more vitamin D testing to what we're doing. So there's this field is constantly evolving, because while we understand the endocrine system, we don't understand the endocrine system, because things are changing. And guess what? 40 years ago, male testosterone was not an issue. It wasn't really a problem because of the life that was lived. And if you go back to World War II, like I read a study, like the average testosterone of a guy during the World War II era was like 1,500. And to let you know how ridiculous these ranges are, like you touched on, the national lab companies have just adjusted the ranges for testosterone. They were like 300 to 1,100. They've brought them down. So now guys who were abnormally low are now normal. Why did they do that?
Yeah, why did they do it?
Because our society is getting more unhealthy. And so instead of the medical community and basically Americans standing up, waving their hands, being like, whoa, this is terrible, we're getting more and more unhealthy. So instead of saying, what do we need to do to fix that? Let's fix our diet. Let's improve, the water we drink, the food we eat, stress. Like let's maybe start to move society forward in terms of that. No. We're gonna placate to the lowest common denominator. We're gonna make all these.
Jesus.
You see you see? I did that just with my hand. It's like I have that much energy that I just moved it with my hand without even touching it. That was, dude. What was that?
I don't know.
Let me bring it back. Ready? Now I'm done. I can't do it now. What the hell?
I don't know. It's wild.
I was very complimentary about your set here before, and now I'm like, you know what? I do have to go. What's going to fall down next?
This part will absolutely not get edited out. That's amazing.
That really was. I really did move my hand.
You did. That was fantastic.
I don't remember what I was saying now. Oh, the lab ranges. So, it just goes to show you how ridiculous these lab ranges are. It's now 264 to 916.
Is it politics or is it the medical community?
I'm going to refrain from answering that
Okay.
on the record.
Sure.
I have my thoughts, and I'll let you guys draw your own
Well,
conclusions.
there's studies very much backing what you're saying, and they've taken the range of male testosterone over the past. The farthest one I can date back is 60 years ago, and it's fell 1 point consecutively every year to date since then. So is that our culture? Is it? I mean, you were talking about in the World War II. Men were different back then than what they are now.
Yeah.
So lifestyle and everything else is kind of our dietary habits are all kind of correlating with this fall in our testosterone in some folks.
And it's in a lot. I'm seeing guys now come in 24, 25 with testosterones of 200. And it's not because they ran cycles of steroids, anabolics. That's where they are. And, their FSH and LH, where the hormones that your brain produces to stimulate your testicles to produce testosterone, those are low. They have a thyroid dysfunction at 25. And you're like, then you start to work it up and you do prolactin levels and you MRIs of the brain and ultrasound of the testicles, and they're all normal. And guys are like, why am I like this? Well, oh, yeah. When I was growing up, we just sat in front of the TV and ate McDonald's. Oh, okay. Well, that probably didn't help.
Yeah.
So you start to see just a cultural shift in what you do. And I mean, I look at it and, I look at my son and, we don't do a ton of screen time. Like, we're outside. And yeah, is it hard as a doctor that has a ridiculously busy medical practice? This is Sunday at 4. Like, I'm here because I don't have time to do it. And so it's hard to manage that stuff. But we as fathers, as parents, we owe it to our children to do things the right way. Yeah, do my kids have pizza? Yeah. Do we stop? Do we get donuts once in a while? Of course. But it's not the staple. We eat whole foods. My kids are outside. They're playing sports. And guess what? I'm out there with them. And I couldn't do that unless I had my testosterone. I just, like after this, like the kids are at the Children's Museum. So I'm going to pick them up and go to the beach. Because they need to be outside.
Sure.
They need to be exposed to stuff. Like my oldest daughter rides horses. And so the two little ones go to the farm. And guess what? They're playing with the dogs. They're in the dirt. Like they're running around. You have to expose them to things that they can build their systems naturally. And if you protect and you shelter too much, you're doing them a disservice. And so, yeah, I mean, you don't let them run into traffic and, do stupid stuff, but you have to let kids be kids. You have to let them, here in Wilmington, we have this amazing, look around. Like we have everything that we could possibly need for kids to be kids. And it's something that, I see on a daily basis and it scares the hell out of me. Because I'm like, I don't want my kids to be unhealthy in 25, 26, and now they're coming into my office. I mean, not my office, but something equivalent. It's scary for me. And, and unfortunately, our society is moving in a direction away from that. And, people ask me, what can I do? You can do that. Feed your kids regular healthy foods, let them be kids, get them outside, have them playing sports, spend time with your children in whatever capacity. But, this isn't getting any better unless we actively take a stand against it.
Yeah, that resonates with me big time. My mind just automatically reverts to how I think is the fire service in general as a father figure and how we're fostering our kids, aka the employees of the fire service now, where we're going to this online training so much. So we're not out there dragging hose in the day in August for fear of heat stroke and all those things. And I'm not downplaying that. That's a real thing as well. But we're not just doing the physical stuff as much as we used to. So, we're harboring this, doing this stuff online, probably not doing as much as we should be when it comes to nutrition and stuff like that. Our department does a fairly good job at it, but we could do better. But nationwide, I feel as if, we're those disserviced kids sometimes for lack of ease. It could be laziness. You talked about the letting your kids go outside and getting out there playing with them. I mean, the world's filled with lazy men now. Convenience is key for a lot of people. You go work 8 to 5 and you come back, you don't want to do that. You don't want to go outside. You don't want to work another job. Whereas, family life should be the first job. So.
It is, and it's not always easy. There's times I'm like, I get home and I'm like,
easy.
But it was Elon Musk. I think I saw his social media. He said, I chose to have children. My children didn't choose me. And so you have a responsibility to those around, not only children, but you have a responsibility to those around you, to within your community, to build your community, whether it's fire, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's just your neighborhood, to build those around you. And the best way that I can do it is I can help people feel better so that they can take that optimization that I've gotten them, and then they can go and they can be not better people, that sounds bad, but they can have more energy and they can be happier and they can sleep better and they have better relationships. That's the way that I do it. You guys do it by literally saving people at their most crucial moment. That's how you guys serve the community. So we each have our own ways, but we have to understand that we're all in this together. And if we can't all feed into this in our own ways, then we're going to continue to have a slide in a way that's unhealthy on many, many levels. It's scary for me. It really is.
You got me wanting to schedule an appointment.
Jeremy, you got anything for
I'm
Dr. Frank?
slightly passionate about this stuff, if you can't
Yeah.
tell. I mean, I really
like it.
You're
Yeah.
a new patient.
It's something I feel very, very, very strongly about. It's my purpose. It's why I'm here. It's why I'm on this earth, is to be able to help those live better lives in whatever capacity it is, whether it's through education, whether it's through people coming to see me, whether it's through motivation. I don't even know what that means, but just be like, hey, you know what? It's okay. I know it sucks, but you know what? You can do it.
Do you treat females as well?
I do. I have a rapidly growing female population in my office.
What's the what seems to be the number one issue with them?
Energy.
Energy. Okay.
Energy, brain fog, and can't lose weight.
Okay.
And if I could fix the last one, I would be we'd be doing this on my yacht. Right. But that weight is the hardest thing to address.
I understand that.
Because it's so multifactorial.
Sure.
But if you can get people, and I tell them, like, the patients who come to me, the female patients, I'm like, look, what I'm going to do is not a weight loss program, but we're going to get your metabolism running right. You're going to sleep better, so your cortisol levels are going to go down. Your energy is going to be better. Your motivation is going to be better. So you will lose weight, and the work that you put in, you'll see the results. But if you don't put the work in, why are you coming here?
Yeah.
If you're just going to sit on the couch, just sit on the couch. But thankfully, my patients that come to me are very motivated. I am incredibly lucky. The patient population I have is just, it's amazing. I get to work every day, and I was like, I did something right somewhere, because I love what I do. It's not work. So it's a passion, it's a calling. While I don't ever regret going through neurosurgery and doing it the way that I started, I wouldn't trade it, because it led me here. So, life is a weird thing.
For sure.
And you get, you kind of end up places and you're like, no, did I think I'd be doing restorative and regenerative medicine in Wilmington, North Carolina? No, I was all set to be the spine surgeon for the Buffalo Bills. Like, we had a family friend he's a spine surgeon now. That's why I went into neurosurgery to do spine. I was going to take over his practice, and it was to be the team doctor for the Buffalo Bills. I can't think of any further away from that than what I'm doing now, and I wouldn't trade it. A year after I left neurosurgery, I had a chance to go back in a different residency, and I turned it down. And it's one of those things where I'm like, you know what? I've made a few good decisions. Marrying my wife was one of them, and turning the neurosurgery spot down. So, it's, again, I'm so just humbled and thankful that I get to do what I do, and that guys are willing to come to me and say, hey, look, I need help. Because guess what, guys? I don't only do this for a living, but I'm a patient too. I stick myself with testosterone twice a week, and I will for the rest of my life. I don't really care,
Right.
because I feel better, and that's just what it's about. What can I do to make you a better person?
Yeah.
Perfect. How can our listeners find you?
I try not to be found.
I understand.
Right.
So give us a call to 910-679-8534. Website is frankinstitute.com. We have a symptom survey on there. Go on there and take it. You can reach us through the website. You can email me. It's Ask Dr. Frank. It's DRFRANK at frankinstitute.com. You can email that. We'll get back to you. Just let me know how I can help. Like I said, even if you heard this show and you never become a patient. I mean, I have guys call me from all over the country, and they're like, "Hey, look, because I can do telemedicine," and they're like, "Look, I don't want to do telemedicine for whatever reason. That's fine. Well, I live in Boise, Idaho. Cool. Give me 5 minutes. I'll go on. I'll Google testosterone replacement in Boise, and I'll be like, here, I think this clinic would be good for you. Like I said, if it's not me, just get tested."
Sure.
And just take some ownership of it.
Cool. Well, I'm definitely grateful for the Frank Institute.
I am too.
And all the wonderful people that work there.
It's completely just starting to feel the effects of it, and man, as the clarity that I get now, especially going back to school, as a godsend. I always was exhausted. It doesn't matter if I slept 8 hours, if I slept 4 hours, if I slept 10 hours. If I'd wake up exhausted, I was exhausted all day. I was sluggish. I could, everything you said, retaining fog. That first meeting I had with you, and you just went over, what kind of symptoms you have. I think I gave, a couple of them that I thought, and then you started going through a whole list, and I'm like, yeah, check, yeah, check, yeah, check. Well, now that you say it, yeah, and it's now that I'm starting to feel the benefits of it, it's ridiculous how long I went without doing this. And I'm so thankful that Matt turned me on to you and that you got me in there. And like I said, it was a very easy process, in and out. Staff's great. And, you were great to deal with. It's yeah, thank you.
I can say, guys, it's absolutely my pleasure. And, thank you for having me on and allowing me to, express what I do and try to educate you guys as listeners, because, it's education is the first part. And it's a hard thing to do, is to get the word out.
Sure.
And so I'm incredibly appreciative.
I think the vast majority of our community suffers with the same thing that me and Jeremy did, and they don't have a clue. They don't know where to start or what steps to take. So hopefully this will provide an outlet for them.
I hope so.
Yeah, I appreciate your work for sure.
And like I said, it's the least I can do for you guys, considering what you guys do for us, for our community, for Wilmington, for everybody. I've had to call some of your cohorts to my home one time, and I remember my middle daughter was having a lot of trouble breathing, and despite my wife and I both being doctors, first thing we did is call 911, because I'm like, it was terrifying.
Yeah.
And at that moment, you lose. You don't lose it, but you become a parent first.
Sure.
And you're not thinking like that. And so you guys came to my house, fire truck, the EMS came in, you guys scooped them up and took them. And I sat there in my driveway as they pulled away. And I was like, thank God those men and women just came to my house. And it's something that I'm incredibly appreciative of you guys for.
Awesome.
You guys are all a little crazy too.
Yeah.
I think that's why I get along so well, because I'm a little crazy as well.
No doubt. Well, Dr. Frank, I appreciate it. I know you got to run out of here. Thank you. I'd love to have you back sometime.
Anytime, guys. Anytime. This is not only is a really cool space down here, but you guys are awesome. So anytime, I would be happy to come back.
Awesome.
Perfect.
That's great.
All right, man.
Thanks,
Enjoyed
guys.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.